Okay, so I'm going to film this video in response to um, a little bit of an insult and a little bit of an offense that occurred last night. So last night I went to go see Gabriel Iglesias in his newest tour, Beyond the Fluffy. In this comedy bit, he discussed going to Starbucks with his pets, which is not pet friendly. And this kind of took me out of the experience. The reason being is I'm a service dog handler. I need my service dog to go with me places so that I can survive. I don't take a dog with me for fun. And if I could get away with not taking my dog places, I would love to not have to. Anyway, he referred to an individual who asked him if his two dogs were Chihuahuas, if they were service dogs. And he called this woman a bitch for asking if his pets were service dogs, since only service dogs were supposed to be there in that store, because any place that sells food, it's a health code violation. So it's against the law in a couple of different ways. Again, this set very wrong with me, because an individual who asks if pets are actual service dogs, they're looking out for my best interests. They're not being Karens. They're not being a bitch. They are making sure that those people who require service dogs can take our service dogs places safely. And the excuse that he gave, that most pet owners give, is my dog's not causing any harm. That's not true. The presence of a pet in a location where pets are not allowed can cause harm. How is this? It's because the presence of a pet can be distracting to a service dog. And yes, service dogs are trained to be able to handle many different kinds of distractions, but they are not robots. So a pet in a restaurant, in a place like Starbucks, if I was there or one of my service dog friends were there and a pet is there, it could cause them to be distracted. In my case, if my dog is distracted, I could go into respiratory distress and not have any warning. I don't think I need to spell out what that would actually do to me. But in case I do, let me spell it out then. Respiratory distress without any warning, no oxygen, could mean I would die, because a pet is where it's not supposed to be. A pet being where it's not supposed to be could cause a service dog to miss their handler's potential seizures. They could then hit their head, end up in the hospital with an expensive bill that they may not be able to afford. Again, that's causing harm simply because a pet owner chooses to take their pet where they do not belong. And I hate to say it, but the smaller pet owners tend to do this more often because they feel like they can sneak in better. Their dogs are, in their opinion, less likely to cause an issue. But it's not fact. Small dogs actually can cause more harm because they are more likely to be brought where they're not supposed to be. And when not socialized correctly, smaller dogs do tend to be more reactive to other pets, to other dogs of different kinds. The small dogs tend to be the ones that will bark and growl at the mere presence of a service dog. This, again, then makes it where the service dog has to focus on that pet because they need to know that they're going to be okay. And knowing that there are pets there can actually cause some handlers to have their medical episodes from the stress and the anxiety induced by knowing there's a pet there that shouldn't be there. I know someone who has epilepsy whose seizures are triggered by stress, by anxiety. And especially whenever a service dog handler has had their animals attacked already, just the sound of a pet being nearby can cause them to have an extreme reaction. Again, some people say that's not my problem. But is having a pet where it doesn't belong really worth potentially killing someone? And yes, it is that serious. Having a pet in Target, in Walmart, in Starbucks can cause grave, fatal issues. And to hear a comedian that has such a large platform, like Gabriel Iglesias, using his taking of his pets where they don't belong as part of comedic fodder so that people would laugh at his jokes. It's a direct assault on all service dog handlers. It's something that it breaks the respect and the trust that one can have, believing that someone can be a decent human being. Because again, taking pets is not an act that doesn't cause harm to others. And being able to create jokes so that people can laugh about it, that's you endorsing other people doing the same thing. And to be honest, we don't need anyone to be endorsed more. Enough people break the law and are unethical enough without creating an atmosphere that it's okay. Because it's not. It is far from okay. I looked forward to these tickets since Christmas of 2019. I was excited. I loved being able to finally see this comedian in person. And then whenever that joke was made, it ruined my night. Whenever I shared my experience on some service dog pages, other handlers had similar stories of seeing such a horrific joke being played out on stage, and how he had once been their favorite comedian, especially considering that he claims to be LGBTQ plus ally. And the service dog community has a very high proportion of individuals of that community. So there are a lot who base their entertainment on that alone. And then whenever they heard these jokes that do directly impact the lives of service dog handlers, it again became an issue of just crushing the spirit and the soul of knowing that someone that they've admired for so long could think this way, could think that it doesn't do any harm to take pets where only service dogs are supposed to be. Now people are like, well, wait a minute. He also says that Starbucks employees told him it was okay. Well, sadly, employees don't know their own corporate policy or the laws regarding dogs in stores and restaurants. So, unfortunately, employees can be very wrong. All you have to do is Google, is Starbucks pet friendly? And it'll come up saying no, that they enjoy pets. I mean, after all, they have the free puppuccinos. But inside the actual restaurants, it is service dogs only. Again, it's that way for good reasons. You want to take your dogs out for a day because you're bored? That's fine. I'm actually at the dog park right now because I'm pet sitting. And the dog that I have with me cannot go with me everywhere. And even though I'm disabled and I do have a service dog, I'm not going to be the person that I hate, the person who takes their pets where they do not legally or ethically belong. There's many places that you can take your pets that are pet friendly. But whenever it comes to places like Walmart, Target, any place that sells food, Starbucks, or a different kind of restaurant like Applebee's or a steakhouse or your local Chinese restaurant, yeah, none of those are pet friendly. Now, some outdoor restaurants allow pets on their patios. That's fine. But service dogs are different than pets. I didn't want to have to make this video. Again, I have enjoyed watching Gabriel Iglesias with my son as he's grown up. Whenever we got tickets for Christmas to go see Gabriel, we were ecstatic. But when he made that joke, everybody around me knew I had a service dog because they had seen me come in. They saw me put him under my chair. So there were a good 20 people who, as soon as he made that joke, they looked directly at me because they needed to know if I was laughing so that they knew if it was okay for them to laugh. And let me tell you, I wasn't laughing. I'm still not laughing. It's not being a bitch when it comes to asking if an animal has a legal right to be there. That woman that he called a bitch likely had a friend or relative who has a service dog. Likely has seen the negative impact that a pet being in a place like Starbucks could cause for a legitimate service dog team. I appreciate people like that. The more people who ask, the safer I am whenever I'm in public. The safer all other service dog handlers are in public. It should become commonplace to look out for your fellow man. Not be, well, this is what I'm going to do because I don't think I'm harming anyone. Because how do you know you're not harming someone? Like I said, if I'd been in that Starbucks with pets there, it could have distracted my service dog. He's almost 4 years old, but he's not a robot. And you know what? Half of the states of the United States allow service dogs in training, which means dogs that are not fully trained, because a service dog's tasks sometimes are trained well before full public access is completed. So a dog may task very well for their owner, but still have some learning to do whenever it comes to ignoring certain distractions, like pets. So if a service dog in training had been there for their owner, who needed them to be focused and undistracted, then that service dog handler could have been in deep trouble if Gabriel Iglesias walked in with his pets. And something else to add is, in most states, distracting a service dog is a crime. Which means that having your pet in Starbucks, if it distracts my dog from being able to perform his job, and I have an episode without the benefit of my service dog being able to appropriately task, then you can be charged with that crime. In some states, it would be considered assault if that individual ends up hurt because a pet distracted a service dog while it's on duty. And even worse, if someone's service dog not being able to task caused an individual to not only have an episode but to die from it, that's manslaughter. It's taking your pets to Starbucks, to Walmart, to Target, to any number of other places that are not pet friendly, really worth it? In my state, taking a service dog out protects me even further. Anything that happens to my dog is considered something that happens to me. He is an extension of me. So many times, if someone's pet was to attack my dog, it's not a dog bite to my dog. It's considered as if I was bitten. Are you ready for that if you take your pet out? We were actually charged by 2 dogs earlier this week. And I informed the owner that he was lucky that my dog was well trained because he did not move from my side. He looked, he was heavily distracted. But, Morgan. Some dogs are jumping. Alrighty. But, I lost my train of thought. But in the state of North Carolina, perhaps, people don't realize that taking your pet in places that are service dog only is considered service dog fraud. That could come with a fine of up to $1,500 and or 6 months in jail. Now, yes, people usually only get charged when someone's service dogs actually was distracted enough to where it caused harm for the individual. But do you have 6 months to spend in jail? Do you have $1,500 to hand over because you wanted to take your dog to Walmart? Yeah, Gabriel Iglesias does. So being charged for taking his pets places probably would not be a big deal for him. After all, in his own words, he didn't think that he was causing any harm. And that's what hurts so much as someone who has been an avid fan for decades. Because he does cause harm, especially when he uses his platform to disparage people who are actually trying to look out for service dog handlers. It hurts to see that so many in that facility roared with laughter. Many of them probably do the same thing he does, taking their pets where they don't belong. And they just got a bit of affirmation from their comedic idol that, hey, he does it too, so what's the harm? I encourage everyone to look into the service dog laws. Don't just Google it, because the first thing that you will do whenever you Google service dog will be to find the 200 plus fake phony registrations, because there are no federally recognized service dog registrations. Every single one of those are scams that are either used to defraud disabled individuals from their money, or to help people defraud others with a phony card so they can take their pets places. But look into the actual laws. Go to ada.gov. Type in service dogs. Pull up the service dog laws there. And until I can hear that Gabriel Iglesias has changed his stance, that he has apologized to the disabled community, the service dog community, I will not be able to allow his comedy in my home ever again. Because again, this is not funny to take pets where they don't belong, to make fun of people who are trying to look out for those who may not be able to look out for themselves. He might as well have said the R word whenever a kid with a disability walked by. He might as well had made fun of someone who couldn't walk well. It's the same thing. He was making fun of a disabled community by making fun of someone who was looking out for that disabled community. So, I suppose this rant's just a little bit long. But this is a subject I'm highly passionate about. Because again, taking pets to non-pet friendly places can be a matter of life and death. Will he be paying for the funeral of someone because he decided to take his pet somewhere and distracted a service dog? He might as well be ready for that, because that's what he's risking by taking his pets out. A death. It is not funny. It is not something to be taken lightly. And people who take this very serious discussions to heart are not Karens, and they're not bitches. Because you know what? I have a complete right to be a bitch when someone puts my life at risk.